The examples illustrate what can happen when workers wrongly assume that if forklifts are powered by propane, they don't need to worry about carbon monoxide, or they were unaware that there's a hazard present from propane-powered forklifts. All fuel-powered forklifts operated inside buildings must be properly maintained and constantly monitored to make sure that carbon monoxide emissions are kept below 1%. If they aren't, and if adequate ventilation isn't provided as well, other workers besides the forklift operator can be poisoned. Carbon monoxide, often called the silent killer, is produced whenever there is an incomplete combustion of any kind of fuel, including gas, diesel, propane, oil, wood, paper, or even charcoal briquettes. What makes carbon monoxide so deadly? It can't be seen, it can't be smelled, and it can't be tasted. And it can accumulate in one area from many different sources. You can be around very high levels of carbon monoxide and not even realize there is a problem, that you are in great danger until it's too late. Carbon monoxide is the leading cause of accidental poisoning in America, often at home and sometimes at work. If you drive or work around propane-powered forklifts, you must be ever vigilant for signs of carbon monoxide poisoning. At first, you may feel like you've come down with the flu. You might have a headache. You might feel nauseous and or dizzy. Your breathing may become rapid. Worse yet, you may feel weak and too confused to know you're in trouble and need to immediately get fresh air. If you don't get fresh air immediately, you may lose consciousness. At that point, if your fellow workers don't get you to fresh air and a doctor or hospital emergency room immediately, you may die. The experts claim that yearly between 10 and 15,000 Americans seek medical attention or lose at least one day of work because of inhaling carbon monoxide either at home or on the job. Businesses using forklifts must be ever vigilant of the potential dangers from carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide poisoning is bad for workers and bad for business. It is cost-effective to prevent these injuries because they can be severe or even fatal. They can involve large numbers of workers in a single incident and may result in production shutdowns. The risk of carbon monoxide poisoning is high when propane-powered forklifts are used inside enclosed spaces. Even with mechanical ventilation, propane-powered forklifts operated indoors can still pose a risk because poisoning can occur at carbon monoxide concentrations of less than 0.1% in the air. What can you do about it? How can you make your work environment safer from carbon monoxide? First and most importantly, if you suspect carbon monoxide poisoning, immediately stop whatever you're doing and get to fresh air. Then seek medical attention. If a fellow worker is showing the signs of carbon monoxide poisoning, help them get to fresh air. The poisoning may have made them incapable of knowing what to do. Carbon monoxide does not accumulate in the body once exposure has stopped and fresh air is supplied. The lungs will exhale the carbon monoxide. If exposure is great enough, pure oxygen may be needed. But if you're not immediately faced with carbon monoxide poisoning, there are things you can do to make the work environment safer. First, drivers should turn off their forklifts when not in use. Do not let them idle. Keep forklift engines tuned to reduce the carbon monoxide being produced. When engines are properly tuned, the carbon monoxide emissions are greatly reduced and the fuel is used more efficiently. There are significant cost savings in fuel. It's a win-win situation. Tim Babbitt, a certified trainer and lead technician for CB Toyota Lift, tells why and shows how.
This engine is so far out of tune, it is very costly to operate and very unsafe. It will costs the company approximately $5,000 a year if it has a 3-shift operation. Let's bring this engine back into specs and tune it up. Okay, our engine is running at 0.3% carbon monoxide level. The acceptable range is between 0.3 and 0.7% carbon monoxide. This engine is running very efficiently right now compared to what it was before the tune-up. We now have an efficient running engine that is safer to use and that will save you a lot of money.
Be especially aware of any rental units. They might not be properly tuned. In the past, rental units have been the source of carbon monoxide poisoning. A catalytic converter may reduce the emissions by 70 to 90%. But this depends on a lot of factors, and it still might not be enough to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning in an unventilated space, such as a controlled atmosphere room. It will not eliminate the risk entirely. A word of caution. Gasoline-powered forklifts or diesel-powered machines emit much more carbon monoxide than propane-powered vehicles, even with catalytic converters. Never, ever use gasoline-powered forklifts or any other gasoline or diesel-powered machine in confined spaces. If warehouse fans are not working, notify your supervisor immediately. Also, keep doors and windows open as much as possible to allow fresh air in. When it comes right down to it, pallet jacks or electric forklifts are the only safe way to move product within controlled atmosphere rooms. These rooms are designed with no fresh air ventilation, and the carbon monoxide levels can build up quickly inside them. Electric forklifts do not emit any carbon monoxide. Of course, there are pluses and minuses with every type of forklift. The electric forklift's initial cost tends to be higher, but they generally have a longer useful life. Propane forklifts accelerate better, but that causes increased wear on the tires and may lead to more accidents. The electric forklifts need a special, well-ventilated room with a battery lifting crane for changing and charging the batteries. The bottom line costs of owning and operating either an electric or a propane-powered forklift is about equal. Therefore, the choice of which to use should be based on the safety of all those who have to work in the same environment.